Hello, hello, hello. You're doing it. You've made it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in early. I think there's like one of you here right now. I'm realizing my restream chat is not open. I have no idea who's here. Faye Livern, I hear, got first comment of the day. Thanks for being here, Faye. Thanks for everybody who is here tuning into the show. Ooh, that means I got to send out the text message. Oh, no. Okay, we're doing it live. We're doing it live. Send message. There we go. Those of you who are on the text message list just should be receiving a message in just a moment. And those of you who are on our newsletter list, I am sending you out the show notes for today's show. So if you want to follow along at home, you can read everything we got going on here on the show today. And it also serves to decentralize our sources so they can't just get taken down. Let's see here. What else? Oh, there was a issue some people were having getting onto the text message list because they are signing up through the LINKTREE at CanaryCry.Party. Well, I figured out what that problem is. So if you signed up through the LINKTREE, putting in your phone number to receive text messages, you have not received them, nor are you on the list if you signed up after March 1st. So if you did that, go do it again. Go to CanaryCry.Party, put in your phone number, and you will receive text messages, text message alerts when we go live. And yeah, it's a great time. But there's a number of you who tried to sign up and you did not get put on the list. So go do that again. Or, as always, you can text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. I just have that memorized now, so that's pretty cool. All right, everybody. We got a great show for you today. So here you go. Buckle up. Stay hydrated. Let's go, baby.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We are live to tape on March 7th, 2022. This is episode number 455. And today, hook and jaw? Question mark? That's right. Razzle dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And there is definitely a lot of world events taking place right now.
They just keep happening, man. That's the thing about the world, and that's the thing about events. They both just keep happening.
Yeah.
Which gives us something to talk about every couple of days.
Certainly, especially because everything that happens seems to be biblical.
It's got to be biblical.
And I just want to really quickly go through the logic for the title. Now, I had mentioned a little bit about, biblical prophecy, Putin as the king of the north, I think it's the king of the north, things like that. So, I originally wasn't going to really talk about this, but a couple things came up over the weekend. First off, I was reminded, just in my memory, I was like, oh, you know what? Our friend Gary Winkleman, who spoke at the Prophecy Forum conference in Ohio back in 2014, he had, his whole talk was about Russia and how Russia is going to expand. They're going to try to expand westward, and that'll be part of the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38. And if you go, and I text Gary, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? It's been a couple years since I talked to him. How you doing?" And his response was, "I called it in 2014." So he was on it, and he had been on the Russia thing for a long time. But yeah, obviously the conflict there has been ongoing for decades, not just 2014. But he reminded me of that. And then I was listening to No Agenda yesterday with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak, and of course they bring up the whole hook and jaw prophecy from Ezekiel 38, but Adam Curry, they're not
Which
really
is a
like
new thing. It's a new thing that Adam has been sort of interested in this in the biblical side of things.
Yeah,
which is good. It's good that he's there, but you can, it's hard if you've been in that world for so long, to hear it talked about without the important details.
Well, yeah, and I don't blame Adam at all. He's not.
No,
that's not his expertise.
No,
I'm happy. I'm
happy he's getting into it.
But it is funny that the clip he played was Pat Robertson commenting on Ezekiel 38. It was like, well, right. Okay. Well, let me just run through real quickly here. So Ezekiel 38 is the reference here, and it's a prophecy against Gog. And it basically says here from verse 2, "Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." Meshech and Tubal being the descendants of Japheth. They are mentioned as part of the Table of Nations in Genesis 10, right before the Tower of Babel. And then it goes on here. "I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with all your army, your horses, your horsemen in full armor, and a great company armed with shields and bucklers, all brandishing their swords. Persia, Cush, and Put will accompany them, all with shields and helmets, as well as Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north, with all its troops, the many nations with you." So, this passage has been used to suggest that this hooks in your jaw is Russia being drawn in to attack Israel.
Yes.
And this has been, and
Ukraine just sort of being the first step.
Well, yes.
Being led along the path towards Israel.
And I think Russia's sort of occupation in Syria and all that stuff earlier in the last decade also spoke to this, because obviously geographically that's much closer to Israel. It's like right in front of Israel. So there was a lot more talk in that regard. But I do want to say that while it is compelling, and I think, you shouldn't dismiss any interpretation or understanding, the thing that's fascinating to me is like the Pat Robertsons and a lot of the Bible prophecy people that are more in the traditional Hal Lindsey hangover is what Chris White called it, in that sort of camp. They see pro-Israel as like you have to stand with Israel, the nation state. And I take a little bit of a different approach on that, especially eschatologically, maybe not necessarily like right now currently, although there are issues obviously with every government. But, you go into Daniel 11, and it talks about the Antichrist wars and how he's going to try to stage what looks like a messianic prophecy fulfilled for the nation of Israel by conquering the neighboring nations and Islamic forces and things like that. And that's where I want to mention, just real briefly, if you haven't checked out Chris White's Bible prophecy talk, do so. He did the timeline of the biblical prophecy or the Bible prophecy of the Antichrist and all that recently. And he does a really good job of laying out what to expect. But this is a paper that I discovered through Chris White's work, which I think is important to mention here. And it's called "Daniel's King of the North. Do we owe Russia an apology?" This was written a while ago. This was written in September 92 or something. So this sort of sentiment has been out there. And this is more in line with Daniel 11 and those passages. But, you can kind of say that geographically there are some overlaps. You can sort of see where the interpretations can come through, especially when you're looking at a map and you're looking at the geopolitics of the day. So compelling, but I will say that, hooks and jaw was mentioned in Ezekiel 29, 10 chapters earlier, about Egypt. So there's an Egyptian prophecy based on that as well. And I think the best thing to do in terms of understanding this, two things. One, let me just read a quote from Don Koenig. He wrote a paper, Russia Will Invade Israel in the End Times. And to summarize the view, the prophecies in Ezekiel 38 and 39 indicate that God will put a hook in the jaw of Russia and bring her down against the land of Israel in the latter years. The hook could very well be the defense pact and economic agreements that Russia has established with Syria, Iran, and other Islamic nations. In the battle described in Ezekiel, Russia will be the leader of a regional coalition against Israel. And maybe it's an Islamic force that uses Russia, whatever. There's some kind of thing going on there. But I think it's the best sort of takeaway is from David Guzik. He's one of my favorite Bible commentators, verse by verse. And he says, as a commentary to the section in Ezekiel 38, the reader may weigh such possibilities for himself or herself, as in, Gog being Russia and directly tying it to the geopolitics of today, with the understanding that political and military circumstances constantly change. Yet, despite whatever human motivation may be present, the ultimate reason is that God said he would compel Gog to come against Israel. And so, if you're going to agree that this is Russia and all that happening now, you have to say, oh, God is literally provoking Putin to move westward, Putin. I don't want to do it. You'll be forced.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because biblically, and we didn't mean to turn the whole start of the show into a Bible study, but it's worth noting, the biblical accounts of sort of the mad kings of the ancient world. It was biblically understood that God was making them do that in one way or another, and they seemed
turn cold to stone, things like that. Yeah.
And they seemed crazy. Like they're described as mad and crazy and illogical and things like this. And so when we see in mainstream news now describing Putin as, oh, he has a brain tumor, he has cancer, he's paranoid about COVID, he's losing his mind, we're hearing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you are trying to make that sort of biblical connection, there is precedent there. Yes, these things don't make a whole lot of sense, and that's sort of part of the equation when it comes to the hook and jaw. The God leading world leaders to do seemingly crazy things where purpose is not
clear.
Apparent.
Yeah. In the context of the contemporary context of now geopolitically and even logically looking at things right in front of you, it's like, why would you do that? But again,
because he's crazy.
He's crazy, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, and there's a lot of studies that have been done on this whole Ezekiel 38 thing, and obviously we have on the screen here a map of all that whole area, and so the more I study the map, obviously the map has been there, has not changed, but just the geographical beeline from Israel to Moscow, there's like almost a straight line south. It goes through the Black Sea, but
and there's Turkey and Ukraine. So once Ukraine, and there's a lot of interest. We're getting into Ukraine now.
We're getting into Ukraine.
Here we go. We're segueing into the lead stories for the day. And there's a lot of talk about peace talks, which we have an article here we're going to bring. But part of these peace talks are in the context of Russia taking the port cities, some of the port cities on the Black Sea there. And from that port, the reason that's so valuable to him is, then he can deploy some sort of navy in the Black Sea, and it gives him access to all sorts of other territories and defense borders and things. But really, once you cross the Black Sea, it's just Turkey, and then you're pretty much in Israel right there.
Yeah.
So Turkey is an interesting place to watch. Of course, there's been lots of geopolitical chicanery going on in Turkey over the past 5, 6, 10 years, something like that.
I mean,
to different levels.
That's the thing with history. You can kind of tie it back to back in the Bronze Age, things that happened.
There's plenty of history we can go through there. But even recently, there's been interesting things. So there you go. In the context of biblical prophecy, we can keep following, that beeline straight down from Moscow through Ukraine, Black Sea, Turkey, inevitably into Israel there.
And the thing to remember with the biblical the end times eschatology, as far as I understand it, is that the Antichrist will present himself as a Jewish Messiah and defeat the enemies of Israel, which those Islamic nations or coalition of Islamic nations, maybe assisted by Russia, maybe China, I don't know. But it's about restoring the land that was promised to Israel, and the end times Antichrist will attempt to do it. But there are little signs of how it's not the actual Messiah as prophesied. And those are deeper studies that we won't get into here, but it is very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Adam Curry mentioned Jared Kushner. I'm like, somebody is chatting with Adam about this.
Yes.
They have paying attention to this stuff. Okay, so let's get into the lead story here. This is coming from Axios and some just big updates that happened over the weekend in Ukraine. Axios is reporting headline.
Hold on.
What?
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
There we go. Third round of Ukraine peace talks ends with no major breakthroughs. Ukraine on Monday criticized the Kremlin's announcement of new humanitarian corridors to transport civilians to Russia and Belarus as an immoral stunt ahead of a third round of peace talks. The latest, the talks near the Belarus border, concluded after about 4 hours with no major breakthroughs. That was just earlier today, if you're in the U.S. But positive developments on improving the logistics of humanitarian corridors, according to a Zelensky advisor. Negotiations on a potential ceasefire and broader political solution will continue. The state of play is a senior U.S. defense official said Russia has now deployed nearly 100% of the combat power that it had massed on Ukraine's borders, and that Russia has launched over 625 missiles into Ukraine since the start of the invasion. The official said the Pentagon can confirm reports that Russia is recruiting Syrian mercenaries to fight in Ukraine, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, though they could not comment on the size or success of the effort. Quote, "We find it noteworthy that Putin believes he needs to rely on foreign fighters to supplement what is a very significant commitment of combat power inside Ukraine as it is," the official said. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered an additional 500 U.S. troops to deploy to Europe this weekend to shore up NATO's eastern flank, bringing the total number of U.S. service members stationed in Europe to approximately 100,000. Did I blink or something? It went from 8,000 to 100,000. Maybe there's some already there. The big picture, just prior to the third round of talks, the Kremlin outlined the most explicit set of demands Moscow has given so far for ending the war. Now, this was interesting because up until now, it's just been, the Nazis. We're getting the Nazis out of Ukraine. That's what we're doing. That's the whole reason for this, which has been, let me be clear. That is what the U.S. mainstream corporate media has been telling us. That is the narrative.
It's almost like whatever they say, consider the 180-degree opposite, and maybe it's a good starting point to get a basic idea of what's happening. But go on.
Yeah, right. So that's what this all started with, was allegedly Putin saying, "Oh no, we're just going to go get the Nazis and then we'll be done." But here's the most explicit set of demands. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Ukraine should amend its constitution to reject any aims to enter any bloc, likely in reference to NATO and the European Union. So Russia wants a commitment that Ukraine will not join any alliances.
Yeah. Sorry. It's kind of...
Is it funny to you, Gonz?
It is funny in the sense that it's kind of like... Yeah, you can be single, but just don't go out with that guy and that other guy.
Sure. Yeah, he's like Yeah, he's like a crazy ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, that's what
I don't want to date you, but I also don't want you to date anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this, I mean, and one angle of this is that it all started because of NATO expansion.
That's very much a sentiment.
The facts of the matter is that NATO and the U.S. Have broken promise after promise that they made to Russia in the 90s that they would not expand NATO. Since then, we've added 14 countries to NATO or something. So we've sort of broken that promise 14 times.
What makes Russia think that Ukraine's promise is any good? I mean, any political promise.
You expand that out a little bit, because if you have I'll show you in a sec. So it's not just a promise. What Putin is asking is that they amend the constitution of Ukraine. So actually put it on paper, make a commitment, because that was the problem with the first promises made to Russia about NATO expansion. Is it was not on paper. It only exists in the minutes, the recorded minutes of a meeting in like 92 or something.
Right.
But there was no signing. There was no declaration. It wasn't written down anywhere, except for it just happened to show up in the minutes of a meeting they had. Okay, so there you go. First demand: rewrite your constitution, commit to not joining any alliances, which is, Putin wants that because he wants Ukraine to stay neutral, because the border of Ukraine, has like something like 6 NATO countries bordering it. So it's kind of a buffer.
Right.
It's a nice neutral zone for him between Russia and like 6 other borders of NATO countries.
All of Europe, really, but yeah.
Peskov also called for Ukraine to recognize Crimea as Russian and the pro-Moscow separatist republics in eastern Ukraine as independent, but appeared to stop short of demanding regime change. Quote, "That's it," Peskov said. "It will stop in a moment." And that was an interesting part. You read this sort of full quotes from Peskov, and they're very sort of clear about what they want. They say, change your constitution, don't join NATO or the EU, which Ukraine is like an inch from being in the EU right now.
Oh, yeah, they're begging to get in.
They've put in their paperwork. Yeah, they're already not debating it, but sort of the bureaucracy is working on it as we speak.
Yeah.
And then recognize the Luhansk and the Donetsk, or whatever they're called. You know what they're called?
Regions.
The 2 little regions, Russian separatist regions. Those are now their own independent zone. That's what Peskov wants. What to watch? Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will meet with Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba in Turkey on Thursday for the highest level talks since the invasion began, according to Turkish Foreign Minister. I cannot even begin. Yeah, to try to pronounce that. A little bit more here. Russia's defense ministry said it had agreed to hold fire and open humanitarian corridors from Kiev, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Mariupol, but the apparent evacuation routes would take Ukrainians under siege to cities in Russia and Belarus. There's a lot of talk about these humanitarian corridors, which is a pretty common military tactic, where you say, okay, all civilians will give you safe passage out of your zone, and then the implication there, whoever is left is not a civilian. You're there to fight, so we can just kill everybody.
Right.
But let's read on. The move was quickly denounced. Oh, yeah. So they want to make these corridors, humanitarian corridors for escape.
Safe spaces.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Safe sort of road out. But they're aiming the corridors at Russia and Belarus. So they're like, yes, you can leave, civilians. You'll be safe. But you'll literally fall into the hands of the country invading you. So it's kind of a false, This is a ridiculous thing to offer in the first place, especially since 1.7 Ukrainians, civilians, have now fled to Hungary and Poland.
Million.
Yeah, 1.7 million. So they're like, yeah, you can escape. Just escape the other way. Come to Russia. You'll love it here. The move was quickly.
Maybe there are people that want to go that way.
Well, allegedly there are, because there's whole, Russian separatist regions in Ukraine. Yeah. The move was quickly denounced by Ukrainian officials who pointed to previous failed efforts to establish evacuation corridors. A spokesperson for President Vladimir Zelensky told Reuters it is, quote, completely immoral, and said Russia was trying to, quote, use people's suffering to create a television picture.
No, always funny coming from government officials and stuff.
Yeah,
like, hello, isn't that what you do? Use people's suffering to create a television picture? And
well, and that's the funny thing about Ukraine is, look, you're kind of not allowed to say it, but they're not necessarily innocent. The Ukrainian military has been...
He's joking, Susan. He's joking.
Right. Well, when you talk about the Luhansk and what is it called? Danbar region?
I have to look at it.
Hold on. I've got a map here somewhere. Yeah. Why don't you find that for me? They being Russian separatist regions have been, sort of pestered, to put it in a polite way, by the Ukrainian military for years. Like that's been an active military zone for a while. And that's part of what was used as justification for Russia. Moving on, Ukrainian officials have reported Russia's military breaching of such pledges before, resulting in the halting of civilian evacuations, notably in the port city of Mariupol, where some 200,000 civilians were reported trapped over the weekend. Now, Mariupol is the port city giving access to the Black Sea I was talking about.
Right.
Yes, and so there have been issues with two other attempts at doing these humanitarian routes that did not work out. Russian military ended up shelling those people escaping, which has been a real disaster and really sad as well.
Yeah.
Zoom in. Ukrainian officials reported attacks across Ukraine, including in the southern city of Mykolaiv, on Monday morning. Ukraine's general staff said in a statement on Monday morning that Russia continues to carry out rocket, bomb, and artillery strikes on the cities and settlements of Ukraine, per an AP translation. Quote, the invaders continue to use the airfield network of Belarus to carry out airstrikes on Ukraine, it added. Ukraine's state emergency service shared online images of razed homes that it said were shelled in the southern Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv on Monday morning. Zelensky said on Sunday, God will not forgive attacks on civilians, including a family of 4 killed in Irpin as they were trying to leave the city in northern Ukraine. That was one of those humanitarian corridors. Between the lines, the UK Ministry of Defense said on Monday that intelligence suggests Russia's military was attacking, quote, targeting Ukraine's communications infrastructure in order to reduce Ukrainian citizens' access to reliable news and information, noting the attack on Kiev TV tower last week and another strike on a Kharkiv TV tower on Sunday. And it goes on, but those are sort of the most recent developments. They're trying very hard to have peace talks and figure out exactly how to end this thing, but not a whole lot of luck. Not a whole lot of luck on that, Gonz. Probably, one could argue, because Putin doesn't want it to end. So he's sort of setting out these sort of ridiculous demands, I guess.
If you're going to negotiate, it's a negotiation tactic. Yeah. Trump used it, start with the outlandish and then chisel it down to something a little more cooperative.
Yeah, and some of the language in other stories regarding this was very, the language used by the Russians was, hey, we will stop this immediately. And that includes, what they didn't mention in this, which was interesting. One of the other demands was a demilitarization of Ukraine. So it's kind of like basically saying surrender. Yeah. And we'll stop shooting you, which, that's a pretty strong place to come out in a third round of negotiations, or the first time you're making your demands. Like, Okay, here's the thing. Recognize Crimea and the Dunbar and Luhansk or whatever. Sorry, I haven't memorized those names yet.
It's Donbass is Donetsk and Luhansk.
Donetsk and Luhansk. Yeah. There we go. So, give Russian separatists what they want. Lay down your arms. Stop fighting us and we'll stop killing you. With no promise to actually pull out of the country. They're just saying we'll stop shooting if you do these things. So
interesting.
Yeah. So there you go. We're all up to date now, at least as far as an hour or two ago is concerned. There was
I was going to do the next story if you
do it.
Just because we're short on time because we rambled at the top. This is RT. Canceled RT.
Yeah, some Russian propaganda.
Which, by the way, I have this.
Cancel Russia.
Nice.
And the headline here, Russia accuses Ukraine of preparing a nuclear false flag.
More false flag claims.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that fun? Let's compare it, though. That's what I wanted to do is our president, Biden, his sort of false flag mention compared to the Russian false flag mention here. Russian outlet. Ukraine's domestic security service, the SBU, allegedly conspired with Azov battalion fighters to stage a false flag attack in Kharkov. The Ministry of Defense in Moscow claimed on Sunday night, according to the ministry, the ultra-nationalist militants allegedly rigged a small experimental nuclear reactor at the Institute of Physics and Technology, KIPT, with explosives. Quote, the SBU and the militants of the Azov battalion are planning to blow up the reactor and accuse the Russian armed forces of allegedly launching a missile attack on the experimental nuclear facility, the minister said in a statement, warning of the risk of radioactive contamination of the area should such a false flag incident take place. Earlier on Sunday, Ukraine's Internal Affairs Ministry said, a ministry already accused Russian forces of shelling the city, claiming that at least one projectile hit the KIPT, which hosts an experimental neutron source reactor with 37 nuclear fuel elements loaded in its active zone. That's a quote.
Experimental.
In its Facebook post, the security service also shared several videos of what it claimed to be Grad multiple rocket launcher shells hitting the perimeter and damaging the side of the building. There were no reports of any radioactive contamination or leaks from the alleged incident in Kharkov, but Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister Emim Zepar tweeted that, quote, the destruction of nuclear materials, installations, and reserves could lead to a major technological and ecological disaster, and accused Russia of war crimes. The exchange of accusations comes on the heels of a shootout and fire near Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on March 4th, which sparked worldwide concern and accusations that Russia was risking a nuclear disaster. Kyiv and Moscow accused each other of provoking the situation. So it goes
as it's been going for
forever,
for 12 days now.
But, I find it interesting that at the very least, RT is sort of using the phrase false flag more in its proper context rather than how Biden was doing it. Biden was like, Russia's preparing a false flag. And Russia's like, Ukraine is setting up a false flag blaming us, which is much clearer. It's like, yep, that's how false flags work.
Yeah.
But then with Biden, it's like Russia is going to make it look like Russia attacked. Or
it wasn't Biden. It was Ned.
Oh, Ned. That's right. Ned. I forget his last name. Yeah, good old CIA Ned
guy. Yeah.
So there you go. I just thought this was interesting that RT would be more accurate in the use of the phrase "false flag."
Yeah, at least use the term correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this continues to be, a war of info. It's an info war.
It's so psychological. I mean, I was thinking that the other day. No, I know all the memes and the sayings and the taglines and all that. But there's a truth to it only because psychologically, think about how people have been freaking out with COVID, and now they're freaking out about Ukraine.
Oh yeah,
it's just insane.
I'm not arguing with you.
I know you're not arguing with me.
You're correct.
I know, but I'm just.
I'm trying to segue into the next.
I know. I'm just I'm agreeing with you. Just making your point with more words.
There you go. Good. So that's what we need when we're short on time is more words.
More words.
And along the info war, we had some fun Elon Musk tweets, which is always important.
Fun.
Starting here, this was on the 4th, actually. This was last Friday after the show. He tweeted, Starlink has been told by some governments, not Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist. And I thought this was very interesting because, he got he went ahead and provided a bunch of Starlink connectivity to Ukraine as sort of his humanitarian / PR effort. Excuse me. And it does not surprise me. I'm sure all sorts of governments are trying to lock down the info war in Ukraine, and then not just Ukraine, but all over the place. And the interesting thing about people asking Elon or governments asking Elon to do this is he's not a social media platform. He's not a website. He's not a news outlet. He's not anything like that. He just owns the infrastructure. So they were asking the infrastructure of the internet to lock out Russian news sources. Now, whether this is true or not, we may never know. But it was a good opportunity for Elon to sort of take a stand as a free speech absolutist, which may not seem like a big deal to us and our listeners, but considering the status quo of our world today, where corporations are so freely censoring and fighting disinformation and all these types of things, to be an actual free speech absolutist, that puts him at a little bit of risk. That is not a not risky idea for him, especially as he, in his new role as sort of internet provider. He has
to be an equal opportunist.
Always be wary of billionaires. I'm not saying we shouldn't be wary of Elon.
I was going to say that we can label Elon as an American oligarch.
Yeah. Oh, he's for sure an American aristocrat. But the point is, nobody else is being vocal about taking a stand like that. I mean, when you talk about big corporations shooting for free speech, Apple maybe did it a little bit, but they do it sort of quietly. And, they fight the sort of censorship issues once in a while. But this is really the biggest stand. And on top of that, just in case anybody was considering Elon as some sort of Russian sympathizer because of that tweet, he also tweeted on the same day, hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures. Followed up by a tweet. Obviously, this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports. So it calls for the ceasing of importing Russian gas and oil, which that is their main export. Which would dramatically cause problems in the U.S., petroleum markets, including at the gas pump. He's taking a stand saying, no, sanction him, but I'm not going to sanction his propaganda, he being Putin in this case. There's some interesting updates from the old Elon. It's being such a confusing character.
Yeah, I see somebody in the YouTube chat, and I don't know if this is like a troll or what, but they basically said bombing children isn't the same as a COVID problem. Putin says that he's bombing war bases, but actually tens of hundreds of cities, towns, countries. I am living here and see what's going on.
Yeah,
and it's like we didn't say that the context we're talking about.
Stop paying attention to the YouTube.
All right. I'm just saying, man.
Yeah.
People say
he's
things,
not.
it's like, no, that's not what we're saying, but okay, go on.
No, that person is not responding to what we're saying. They're just being heard. Okay, so there you go. We just got one more little story here, and then we'll move on. This is from Fortune.com, just sort of confirming what we've been talking about, but just there's a couple of interesting little things. The headline is Severe Impact on Global Economy from War Sanctions. International Monetary Fund warns. The International Monetary Fund warned Russia's war with Ukraine and the subsequent sanctions imposed upon President Vladimir Putin's country will have a severe impact on the global economy. Quote, while the situation remains highly fluid and the outlook is subject to extraordinary uncertainty, the economic consequences are already very serious, the Washington-based lender said in a statement on Saturday. Food and energy prices have surged in recent days and supply chains have frayed, adding to the inflammatory pressures that policymakers were already struggling to tackle. JP Morgan Chase & Co. economists cut their outlook for global growth this year by about a percentage point and raised their inflation estimate by a similar amount. Oh, good. Estimating even more inflation. This is fun. Quote, price shocks will have an impact worldwide, especially on poor households for whom food and fuel are a higher proportion of expenses, the IMF said. Quote, should the conflict escalate, the economic damage would be all the more devastating. The sanctions on Russia will also have a substantial impact on the global economy and financial markets, with significant spillovers to other countries. The fund said central banks will need to, quote, carefully monitor the pass-through of rising international prices to domestic inflation to calibrate appropriate responses. Governments will need to find ways to support the most vulnerable households and help offset rising living costs. Quote, this crisis will create complex policy trade-offs, further complicating the policy landscape as the world economy recovers from the pandemic crisis. The fund said Ukraine will face, quote, significant recovery and reconstruction costs, the IMF said, noting that substantial economic damage had already been wrought by the war. The country has sought aid of $1.4 billion, and IMF officials will consider the request as early as next week, according to the statement. Putting out the call to central banks all over the world, be prepared to deal with pretty significant economic crises, again, to hit everywhere, not just Ukraine, not just Russia, not just the U.S., but, they're so integrated, specifically Russia, so integrated with the energy industries and other things, other commodities like wheat, which we've talked about, that this will be sort of a global rippling effect financially. And, I just find it so funny because it was only 2 weeks ago Biden was praising his own good job at the most robust economic recovery in U.S. history. The economy is awesome. Everything is awesome. And everybody was like, you're crazy. It is not awesome. What are you talking about? What is this weird sort of kayfabe that you're trying to get us all to buy into, that things are great? And it feels like, again, we do not know all the levels of what's going on with this conflict, but it's easy to see that this conflict helps the Biden administration in a lot of ways, including sort of making a more opaque situation as far as why is the economy bad? Why does he keep saying it's good?
100%.
It just hides everything.
No, the war here in Ukraine couldn't have come at a better time, which is why it feels like, in terms of the context of the geopolitics, NATO pushing Putin or like making him feel like he needs to defend himself. That kind of makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, this is a good time to start blaming and create global economic uncertainty as a way to distract from, hey, we just printed half the U.S. dollar supply in the last 2 years.
Half of all dollars that have ever existed. I just printed because I'm such a good president.
But we better have a war somewhere so we can start blaming this thing on something else. How about Putin? So
and my buddies over at Halliburton and Raytheon and those types of places will also be shielded from the problems because they'll have, hundreds of billions of dollars in new government contracts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're behind, but as always, it's Monday today.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
So we had a weekend here. Anything from you, Basil? Did you go to the skate rink?
It is Monday, so we can hit the skate update. Church of Skating.
Church of Skating. I did not prepare for that.
Howdy, partner.
Do you even know?
Yeah, here it is. The update, folks. For the first time in 2 months, I did not go skating last night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just had other stuff going on. Was doing some manual labor. Did a bunch of stuff and looked at the clock and said, oh no, I'm like 2 hours late for skating and there's only 45 minutes left. So I did not go. I feel a hole in my heart, an emptiness in my life. I don't know what I can do to recover. I don't know if I'll be able to bounce back from this, folks, until next Sunday comes around where I will make sure to go skating again.
Good.
But thank you to everybody who has been keeping me updated on your new skate adventures. Soon we'll have to start including, producer skate updates to cover up for my own deficiencies.
Yeah. Well, not a couple things from the weekend for me. Nothing too crazy, but interestingly enough, last night I had this really vivid dream. Baby was up at 4, so that was fun. So after I fell back asleep after that, I had this dream where, because obviously, looking at all this Russia stuff, in your dreams, like you have these, it's not anything mental. It's more like an emotional experience throughout when things happen. Well, I had this moment where the Russia-Ukraine crisis made complete sense. It was like, oh my gosh, I get it. I don't know
where you saw it all.
I don't know what the details were, but it was that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I get it. And then as I feel that, I look up, the moon. There's a giant crack in the moon splitting in half.
Oh, in your dream.
In my dream. Not for real. No, not for real. In my dream. And then I feel all the other emotions, of terror, then, thinking about my children and my family and all this stuff. And then this like sense of calm of like, this is my time. I must rise to the occasion. This is why I've been put here.
I must repair the moon.
As the moon was breaking apart. It was very vivid though, so I have that. And then at a little bit more of a serious level, just want to call upon the producers of the show here.
Producers, assemble!
And speaking of vivid dreams, my father-in-law is old. He's struggling right now with his mental state. It's kind of like it's a light form of dementia. It's not fully dementia yet, but he's not really able to tell what's real, what's not. And it's really tough to see. So if you guys can pray for him, his name is Roger. So please pray for Roger that he's comforted because he's going through some rough times right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's never fun. All right, producers, keeping Gonz's father-in-law Roger in our prayers during this difficult time. That sort of dissent is never fun.
Yeah, not cool.
Okay, well, here's the moment, Gonz, where we get to thank right up top the most special and generous producers, the executive and associate executive producers for this episode of Canary Cry News Talk, episode 455. And today, you can tell there's a war going on, Gonz, and that the financial repercussions are being felt around the world because as of now, no executive or associate executive producers. Been a kind of a dry spell the past couple episodes. So there you go. But here's the thing. It's a problatunity, folks. Problatunity. You can take that one to the bank. It's a problem that presents an opportunity for some producer out there who perhaps is in a better financial state than us or our producers, who's been getting value out of the show, perhaps has not produced in a while, or perhaps never. And this is the beautiful part about the value for value model, folks, which is why you don't hear any advertisements or affiliate codes or anything on this show. It's because we do not let the advertising industry set the value of this show or the info that we bring on it. Instead, the value is set by the producers, and the producers are you, dear listener. Those who want to join the rebellion against the spiritual stronghold of advertising, which makes a practice of redefining our reality for corporate profit motives. But not here. And so if you're someone who has been getting value out of the show and you want the show to continue, think about becoming an executive or associate executive producer for this episode. The beautiful thing is that not every single listener has to produce every single show. But in the times where, producership is low or other producers cannot carry the burden of keeping the show going, that's the time for another producer to step up. And it's part of the sort of family contract we have around here. So there you go. There is still time for somebody to step up, become an executive producer. You can head to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support if you want to do that. CanaryCry.Radio.com/support. That's right. And remember the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where those who have committed to keeping the show going because of the value they receive and the value they want to keep receiving and, be provided for other listeners of the show. We've got the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. You can find all that or learn more about it at CanaryCryNewsTalk.com/roundtable. And we've got a couple fun things about that coming up. Okay.
So we didn't have any executive or associate executive producers?
No. Oh,
that's how I feel.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you want to premiere one of the jingles early from one of our jingle makers today? Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Well, Jonathan F. came in with like a bunch of jingles.
Yeah, and we'll thank him later on in the show, but we might as well use the show while we got it.
So he gave us a no executive producers jingle.
Okay.
No.
Executive producer.
Yeah.
Fun. Thank you very much, John F. And we'll thank you again in the break. But there you go. So now's the time, dear producer, if you've been thinking about it, praying about it, if it's been laid on your heart to become a producer of the show, you are our last hope. So head on over, become a producer. We'll thank you in the break. Let's see here. Just a quick note. We did send out the show notes again before the show. So many of you out there, you've got the show notes open on your computer or your phone while you're listening, and we hope you enjoy. And if you, dear listener, did not receive those, go ahead and sign up to our newsletter. You can find that at CanaryCry.Party.
All right.
Okay, let us continue with the show.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, it's time for the Flippy update, folks. If you don't know, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses, and maybe someday become our friends. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, the Flippy update is coming from theengineer.co.uk, and a little bit of a throwback to Flippy. We're going back to Flippy proper. And the headline is Flexible Robotic Arm to put to work with AR. That's augmented reality. According to Imperial, the flexible arm can twist. Let me start a little earlier here. A malleable robotic arm designed and created at Imperial College London can be used with greater accuracy thanks to augmented reality goggles. Woo! According to Imperial, the flexible arm can twist and turn in all directions, making it customizable for applications in manufacturing, spacecraft maintenance, and injury rehabilitation. In use, people working with the robot would manually bend the arm into the precise shape needed for each task, a level of flexibility made possible by layers of mylar sheets inside, which slide over one another and can lock in place. So far, configuring the robot into specific shapes without guidance has presented challenges. To enhance the robot's user-friendliness, researchers at Imperial's REDS, that's their Robotic Manipulation Engineering Design and Science Lab, designed a system for users to see in augmented reality how to configure their robot. Wearing mixed reality smart glasses and through motion tracking cameras, users see templates and designs in front of them superimposed onto their real-world environment. They then adjust the robotic arm until it matches the template, which turns green on successful configuration so that the robot can be locked into place. Let's see here. I'm going to skip In a statement, senior author Dr. Nicholas Rojas of Imperial's Dyson School of Design Engineering said, quote, "One of the key issues in adjusting these robots is accuracy in their new position. The humans aren't great at making sure the new position matches the template, which is why we looked to AR for help. We've shown that AR can simplify working alongside our malleable robot. The approach gives users a range of easy-to-create robot positions for all sorts of applications without needing so much technical expertise." Now, Gonz, our sort of recent obsession with robotics and how the social engineering of the technocracy is going is really surrounded around humans' interaction with the robot, not the robot's interaction with humans, not making the robot more compatible with human life, but training humans and creating systems for humans to be compatible with robot life.
Right.
And, we love talking about AR, VR, the metaverse, the digital realm that soon will become a part of everyday life. And it's no surprise that sort of merging of our reality with a digital superimposed reality is extremely useful for humans to be trained to be better stewards of the robot, technocalypse. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing this robot, which is a pretty fancy robot. Not even talking much about the hardware here. Usually Flippy arms, they have a series of elbows or joints that have motors in them. This one is like a flexible tube, the most flexible Flippy in existence right now, which is its own special part of this report. But more so, as we explore and stay mindful about the technocrats' attempts to train us to socially engineer society to not only accept robots, but to adjust our life to fit into the robot's world. No shocker that this digital realm of augmented reality is a big part of that. And someday soon, when somebody makes a pair of AR glasses that are not entirely sort of offensive to the fashionistas' sensibilities, this will become a very common thing. So get ready, folks, and get your kids ready, because if you want to survive in this robot world, you're going to need to get into the AR thing.
Well, it's becoming more and more clear that AR and VR, it wasn't a problem of, hey, the technology for AR and VR are ready. It was more so the robot instructional capacity was not up to speed. But now it is, so now we can really dive into AR and VR and become well-trained monkeys by the robots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you kind of say that tongue in cheek, but it's actually extremely true. What is the other example of, animals interacting with technology on a regular basis in a new and special way? It's monkeys. I mean, Elon Musk with Neuralink and, everything like that. It's literally training monkeys to work with technology, not the other way around.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go. That's all I have for this Flippy update. Hope you like it and stay frosty, folks.
Stay frosty. Yeah, that arm is very strange looking. I gotta say.
It's a cool arm.
Yeah. All right.
So bendy.
It's very bendy.
Very bendy.
You know what else is bendy is a party?
Okay.
Huh?
Sure. Yeah.
CanaryCry.Party? Question mark?
Party time.
Find the live stream, the email list, street team posters, other Canarians, and all the ways to produce the show and join the Canary Cry family.
Welcome to Canary Cry.Party. It's the place you wanna be. So stay. Welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay, CanaryCry.Party.
That's right. Canary Cry Party. You can find all things Canary Cry at CanaryCry.Party. If your browser is not opening it up, try putting in http:// you know the deal, CanaryCry.Party. But there I have repaired. Oh, I said this in the pre-show and I'll say it now. I've gotten plenty of emails from people saying they signed up for the text message alerts and have not received any of them. Well, I figured it out. Okay. So now, if you tried to sign up for the text message alerts, in the last couple weeks and you have not been receiving those text message alerts, go back and do it again because it is now fixed and you'll be put on the list. Up until just before today's show, it was just sort of sending off that, phone number out into some sort of abyss, some junk pile, and was going literally nowhere. But now we have them, and the list is updating. So there you go. Alternatively, you can just text the word canary to the phone number 877-740-3226. That's 877-740-3226. And we'll get you on the list. People are enjoying those text messages. And last but not least, go check out Ravel podcast. It's a good podcast. We're having fun. We're talking to artists right now, but in like a fun way, not in like a not fun way. So go check it out. We just put out an episode with Phil Porto, who's a spirit-filled photographer. Very interesting guy. Lots of interesting topics discussed. That's Ravel podcast on any podcast player. There's another Ravel podcast. They stole our name. Ours is the good one. It's got my name on it. Go listen to that. Okay, Gonz, I'm done.
Okay. Go to CanaryCry. What is it? CanaryCry.Clips.com? Is that the actual website?
Oh, no. Canary Cry Clips YouTube channel.
Oh, YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that because we got some clips.
We got a bunch more clips up there today. So go check it out. Canary Cry Clips YouTube channel. Go subscribe.
Okay, here we go.
It's Latin for many. Now suck your blood. Now politics.
I'm so happy we get to play this jingle.
It's Cuomo Primetime.
I do it with everyone.
Yeah, we thought we were so sad. We just got that great jingle and all the Cuomos got fired and you're never going to get to play it again. But Andrew Cuomo, former and currently disgraced ex-governor of New York, he's not ready. He's not ready to give it up.
You know
Gonz.
what's funny? In my little Cuomo sound folder is this song. It's like the Cuomo background music.
Okay.
So you want to do the story with the Cuomo background music?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me get over to the story.
I do it with everyone.
What is this background music?
I don't know. It's just here.
It's just on the soundboard?
Yeah. I think we used it for the Cuomo thing.
Okay, hit it again. At least for the headline, we'll give it a... All right, coming from Politico.com. Listen up, party people. God isn't finished with me yet. Cuomo speaks at Brooklyn Church for first live appearance since resigning.
Okay.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who resigned from office just over 6 months ago amid multiple allegations of sexual harassment, made his first public appearance at a Close Alleys Church in Crown Heights, Brooklyn on Sunday, preceded by a service at God's Battalion of Prayer that included golden flags, white-robed dancers, song and prayer. Cuomo took the pulpit.
Does not sound like a place Cuomo should be.
Yes,
white-robed dancers? Keep them away. Go ahead.
Yes, well, a particularly wholesome venue for his comeback to begin, especially because his comeback is riddled with perversions and sexual misconduct. Preceded by a service at God's Battalion of Prayer that included golden flags, white-robed dancers, song and prayer, Cuomo took the pulpit with the traditional call and response line, "God is good."
Oh, great PR move.
He's got good PR people. For about 20 minutes, Cuomo laid out the same defense of his behavior he's held over the past several months, but assured the audience he's been leaning on scripture in a difficult time because, quote, God isn't finished with me yet. The crowd, which appeared from the live stream to be several dozen people, offered occasional...
Politico. Little jab right there, Politico.
You know, it's church, post-pandemic church, you know.
That's funny. Go ahead.
Offered occasional, if uncertain, applause as Cuomo delivered a speech with critiques of government corruption. Jeez. The Democratic Party and, quote, cancel culture, sprinkled with praise of his father, the late former Governor Mario Cuomo. Quote, "The press roasted me. My colleagues were ridiculed. My brother was fired. It was ugly. It was probably the toughest time of my life," Cuomo said. Quote, "I haven't spoken about it in public yet because I wanted to talk about it here with you because God's guidance is helping me through," he added. Okay. The scene. Cuomo was welcomed by the Reverend Alfred Cockfield II, a major supporter of New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who launched a super PAC last year aimed at boosting moderate Democrats. Cockfield, who Cuomo appointed to the Long Island Power Authority Board of Trustees last summer. We owed Cuomo a favor. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was.
Introduced Cuomo
payback.
Yeah, as an advocate for the community during the worst of the pandemic and as a friend. Ooh, that's not a good look. Quote, "I never turn my back on friends," he said. Cockfield indicated that the audience was not given any advance notice of the special guest, of course. The media announcement that they probably didn't even know pretty much right up until after the tithe was taken, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
The media announcement that Cuomo would make his first in-person remarks since his resignation arrived 30 minutes prior to the start of service. Leaning on allies in black communities is a long-held strategy Cuomo's used through the past year of scandal. Yeah, he's a Democrat. That's what they do. They take advantage of black communities. It follows a path Cuomo is paving with his multi-million-dollar campaign account to reclaim a spot in public and perhaps political life. Last week, he released a TV ad aimed at clearing his name. Since the start of the year, he's dined in Manhattan several times, including with Adams and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
At one point, is it just you have enough money, just go retire?
I thought the same exact thing, Gonz. What in the world compels guys like
unless
this
there's something else
to have to claw back?
I mean, it's either like a mental disorder at this point of that realm of people and trying to find purpose and meaning in life and stuff.
Or he's being used. That's the only other option. There really isn't much else. Because otherwise it's like, why would you, after all this bad PR and all this name being dragged in the mud and you know, all this stuff, why would you want to try to fix your name and all that? I don't know. It's just not only is he a sexual criminal, but he's also more or less a murderer. You know?
All the whole
elder care situation.
Yeah.
And a dog hater.
Yeah, he hates dogs.
He left his dog when he went off or something.
Well, he does it to everyone, though.
I do it with everyone.
Yeah.
The message, Cuomo reiterated a familiar defense that he wasn't aware he was making any of his former female aides feel uncomfortable. in instances they viewed.
Hold on. Let's just remember what his mindset.
I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do hug people, men and women.
Okay, and then there was this.
I do it with everyone. Black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
He's just a lovable guy.
He's sick.
He's
man.
just misunderstood.
So I'm going to just do some deconstruction. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really just sick, this whole thing. Yeah. So first of all, he's a Democrat. So he knows the political strategy of taking advantage of black communities, using them as a pawn, as if they wouldn't see exactly what's happening. And that's exactly what he's doing here. And he, had this pastor under his thumb. He owed him a favor. And he's at least testing the waters here. So,
doing it at church, too, is really gross.
Well, that's number two.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So number one, he's taking advantage of the black community. Again. Number two, he's doing it at a church, give some illusion of repentance. However, there is no repentance because these quotes here, I don't want to read them because they're so annoying, but he's just saying, I didn't know, I didn't break any laws. He's not repenting. He's not saying I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Will you help me, make it right? No, he's denying. So, him being at a church, trying to give some sort of, image of repentance and purity and stuff. Again, it's all politics and using, again, more minority communities, whether they are, black communities or communities of faith, in this case, both.
Yeah. What's funny too is he's leaning into the cancel culture, like blaming cancel culture.
That is the third one.
That is a very popular thing now with the Democrat left.
I know, because it's especially after the State of the Union, where we saw the Biden administration start leaning right, pretty hard to the right, in order to give permission to independents, right-leaning independents, to vote Democrat. And Cuomo's doing the same thing here. Here's a quote: "Contrary to what my political opponents would have you believe," oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Here it is. "If you want to cancel something, cancel federal gridlock, cancel incompetence, cancel the infighting."
Well, if we're going to cancel incompetence and
cancel crime. Cancel crime, Gonz.
Cancel crime.
Crime is canceled.
Yeah.
Cancel homelessness.
Defund the crime.
I'm not done. Cancel education inequality.
Well, he wants to do it with everyone, so it makes sense.
Cancel poverty.
I do it with everyone.
Cancel racism.
I do it with everyone.
You're canceled, racism. If only we knew this is how easy it was. Be outraged, but be outraged at what really matters and what really matters to you. So we
oh my gosh.
Don't think about me raping multiple women and killing multiple elders. What was it? It was hundreds of elders.
I thought it was
elderly.
I thought it was thousands.
It was like Could have been. It was like 800. I think.
It was maybe under 1,000.
And then lied about it to the face of citizens. He came on television and lied about murder and lied about rape. But no, cancel crime, cancel poverty, cancel racism. Be outraged, but not at any of the horrible things I did. Be outraged at things what really matter to you. Cancel. The implication being that none of his crimes really matter to any of us. Quote. So yes, there you go. He's coming out. He's doing the new Democrat thing, which is to be against cancel culture. They're all for cancel culture. And look, I'm not trying to pick on Democrats here. It's just, look, folks, it's the reality.
It's the playbook.
It's what the past few years have been. Yeah. Democrats are the cancel people.
It'll start changing.
I'll admit that the Christians invented canceling.
Oh, yeah. Evangelicals.
Yes, evangelicals been canceling, people and IP and things for decades. So the Democrats stole it from the evangelicals. But there you go. They have been responsible for the culture that we are in. And now that it's turned on them, they don't like it. And they have to cancel culture. Yeah. Let's see here. To wrap it up, he goes, "I have many options in life." Do you? Do you have many options?
That's
doesn't
that's
seem
something
like
that someone that doesn't
seem
have
like you
any
have many
options says.
at this point.
Yeah.
He says he's not yet at peace, but with the state of the world and Democratic Party today, quote, I don't think you should be at peace either. Let's make some trouble, he said as a closing line. Let's make some. I don't
think anybody's going to be.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
It's even better.
Yeah.
Let's make some trouble, he said as a closing line. Let's make some good trouble, he quickly added, quoting a phrase made famous by the late civil rights pioneer,
of course,
Representative John Lewis. John Lewis of Georgia there. So James's campaign ripped the speech.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So there you go. Long story short, here's a fun quote from this was who is James? I skipped a paragraph. I forgot who James was. He is, I think, a political opponent of Cuomo, or a former one. Quote, serial sexual harasser Andrew Cuomo won't even spare a house of worship from his lies, the campaign statement said. Quote, even though multiple independent investigations found his victims to be credible, Cuomo continues to blame everyone but himself. Cuomo wasn't railroaded. He quit so he wouldn't be impeached. New Yorkers are ready to move forward from this sick, pathetic man.
It's Attorney General Tish James.
Thank you. Yeah, Letitia James. Yeah. She's the one who brought the
allegations. Yeah, the charges. Yeah.
So there you go. There's a long story short. He's trying so hard and pulling out every sort of reprehensible political play in the Democratic playbook. And we'll see if it works. We'll see if anybody buys it, but I don't think so. I don't think they will. This is going to be a little test situation. But you got to remember, guys like Cuomo still have a lot of people that owe him favors. Yeah. So depending on how many
until he exhausts the list, the Rolodex of favors.
Right. However many favors he has obligated to him will determine how far he gets here.
I got to be honest, though. If he's starting off with the church, it's probably not that long of a list. I don't think there's a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good start. Like, I think you start with the church, again, to kind of project this image that you're reformed, and then you start getting into the politics.
Sure.
But we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. All right, what do you got?
Well, this is a clip that went viral the last couple days. My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, is filing a class action lawsuit.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've been working on it 5 months, and we're doing a class action.
It's a Klaus action. First off, I think Klaus is on his mind.
Klaus action. I'm announcing it here. I announced it on my program. Y'all watch FrankSpeech.com. Keep watching. But it's a class action lawsuit against all machines and that they're defective devices.
He's filing a class action lawsuit against all machines, Basil. The rise of Flippy will be hampered by Mike Lindell and his class action lawsuit against all machines.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, clearly.
Fear not, humans. Mike Lindell is here to sue us out of the robot apocalypse. Sure. Clearly, he's talking about voting machines.
Yeah, and he'll finish it out talking about.
Okay. I have lawyers worked on this for 5 months. We're getting county commissioners, county clerks. They're all the plaintiffs, and we've already got about 300 on board. And we're going to get rid of these machines once and for all for any election in history.
There you go. Talking about the election machines. I don't know. He does sort of highlight an ongoing issue with something like the voting system in the United States and really around the world. We have systems that are so much more transparent and clear for the public.
The machines are the problem.
It is a big problem, and but I am also always weary of what kind of solutions are they going to present. Does Mike Lindell have a solution for this? Is there another polling company or something that's getting ready to release their product or whatever, or sell their machines to the government? It's always a little shaky, but it's keeping the topic, I guess, in the spotlight in some sense. But yeah, the blooper class action lawsuits against all machines helped this clip go viral. This man is either a marketing genius, a viral genius, or he's just very fortunate to make mistakes like that go viral.
It's very interesting how he's like a dog with a bone with this voting thing, you know. Like the world has more or less moved on, and yet he keeps at it, and there are other people as well keeping at it. Yeah, you know, continuing this fight.
To his credit, I suppose, the issue will come up again the next time, either this year's elections or 24. Yeah, so it's not like the topic has gone away or it's not going to be addressed again. So, you know, again, it's not necessarily bad. But
that's true. That's totally true.
But I will say that. Do you remember how I made the comparison of Mike Lindell to Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
So I think this makes sense that he would really want to stop all machines, because I don't know if you remember, Basil, but Mr. Satan was beat up by Android 18 in Dragon Ball. So
oh my gosh, it's
all
making
predictive
making
programming.
sense.
Yeah. Okay. Justin Trudeau was out talking smack. Here he is talking about slippage.
We've come to a moment that, quite frankly, we've seen.
Okay, before we go on here, he's got the Ukrainian. Is that a lapel? Not a lapel. What is it called?
Got a pin or something.
Pin, yeah.
Coming over the past years. And we've talked about it in the news, not just about Ukraine, but about democracies around the world, that we see a bit of a slippage in our democracies.
It's hilarious. I wonder who's responsible for the slippage of democracy in Canada, for example.
He just continues to pull the same nonsense.
Is somebody going to tell him, or do you think he knows? Or like,
I
what?
think,
Is he just surrounded by yes men?
I think it's a mixture of things. I think he is very tightly handled.
He's got to be.
I don't think he really gets an honest picture of what's going on in the world. I think he knows what the handlers want him to know. He knows what Klaus wants him to know. He does what he does and says whatever Klaus wants, and that's it. I mean, I don't think there's anything more than that.
Around the world, that we see a bit of a slippage in our democracies.
Yeah.
Countries turning towards slightly more authoritarian leaders.
Yeah.
Kind of like this guy.
You're
Countries allowing increasing misinformation and disinformation to be shared on social media, turning people against.
That's what the
values and the principles of democracies.
Is tyranny.
Isn't that what you guys do over there?
No, this one's he's literally saying free speech is tyranny. Free speech is dictatorship.
The values and the principles of democracies that are so strong. And that slippage over the years,
not a great
unfortunately emboldened Putin and made him think that he could get away with this, that he could get away with it in Ukraine.
Yeah, okay.
Some could say that about you.
Okay, buddy.
You thought you could get away with it, Trudeau.
This is unbelievable, but it just keeps happening, and all we can do is laugh because it's just so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. And that is his most valuable asset in just sort of this reality that we live in. Is his most valuable asset is he does and says whatever he's told with almost zero self-reflection, or at least none. No
shame.
Yeah, at least none that we can account for.
Yeah.
And it works in two ways as value, because it's value to, his weird sort of globalist handlers. It's valuable to Klaus. It's valuable to sort of tyranny in general, to the propaganda, to the doublespeak, that kind of stuff. But it's also valuable to regular people because it's so transparent.
Yeah.
It's like so blatantly absurd between what he says and what he does that I think a lot of people are just waking up, maybe not like full on waking up to everything, but at least waking up to the fact that, oh, yeah, okay, so he's just some sort of literal puppet. He may literally be a wooden boy attached to strings, being controlled.
I mean, to sort of be contrarian about it, I wonder if he's just out there to create the awakening, because it's just so absurd.
There is an angle to that.
I mean, it can't be by happenstance. It feels like design, doesn't it? like it's meant to be put there again, to show the obvious ridiculousness, overreach, whatever, the totalitarian authoritarianism, and just really, because from the elite perspective, like the elite lizard people hiding behind curtains, this is great because he gets to just kind of push on. You got this guy, you got this pawn, or whatever on the chessboard, and he can keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's very useful. You don't want your puppets or your pawns thinking for themselves.
Absolutely.
And that is literally the worst thing for a puppet or a pawn. And somebody in the chat just pointed it out. I don't know who it was. Come on. It scrolled by. There is the other side of what I was talking about, which is some people seeing it and being like, oh, I get it. Okay, none of this is real. I see what's going on here. But there is the other side that he is like completely normalizing cognitive dissonance.
Oh, yeah. No,
the gaslighting. That's what it is. It's just gaslighting. It's a 100% clinical case of gaslighting.
Yeah, the gap between the truth and the lie is becoming ever wider. But there are other shills to get through, Basil, in this politics section.
More important shills.
A shill for sure.
That's right. We're checking in. We haven't talked about our good buddy Chris SHILLZILLA over at CNN. The Point on YouTube. You want to check it out. He had some. Did you actually grab any of those clips?
I didn't. I wasn't able to clip it, but I can play a couple seconds of the beginning here.
Yeah, just so people can kind of get a feel of what the quality broadcast on The Point is.
Okay. Well, the headline here from CNN is Donald Trump has a bonkers theory on how to win the war in Ukraine.
Oh, you're going to love it.
Okay. So let's start the video.
My beard has officially reached the itchy all the time stage. Yeah, it's not a fun stage. Look, Donald Trump just can't help himself over and over again.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We cannot continue on without commenting on your
I love it.
opener.
This is his thing. He's the edgy YouTube guy for CNN. And he's learned from the young folk, the millennial. Again, his style for YouTube video is very millennial. It's not Gen Z. Like, it's not current. His style is very millennial, sort of ironic, sort of, going for some authenticity, but it just does not ring true. So he starts out his cold open for his CNN news show, complaining that his beard itches, which, Gonz, just you may know this, but just for anybody who doesn't, there's a very specific set of pop culture references that he's sort of banking on here. One of them is Zach Galifianakis, who has a very famous joke, if you could call it that, where he says, this is my impression of a 5-year-old with a beard. My beard hurts. And he just says stuff about his beard with like a little baby voice, which is pretty funny at the time, but it's from like 10 years ago. And that's sort of the currency on which
really made an impression on young SHILLZILLA.
When
he wanted to be a journalist for CNN.
Exactly.
So he's reaching into his bag of tricks.
32-year-old SHILLZILLA, or more. So, anyways, here's his analysis, and this is why I love Chris, because we're in the same business, Chris and I. Whereas we're in the business of analysis, and this is on edition.cnn.com. Donald Trump has a bonkers theory on how to win the war in Ukraine. Analysis by Chris SHILLZILLA. It's sometimes useful to remind yourself what things might have been if Donald Trump had actually won the 2020 election. Over the weekend, the former president provided a glimpse into how he may have handled on the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine. And it's a doozy. According to audio obtained by the Washington Post, Trump told a group of Republican donors in New Orleans that the United States should paint Chinese flags on its F-22 planes and then use those planes to bomb Russia. Quote, and then we say, China did it. We didn't do it. China did it. And then they start fighting with each other. We sit back and watch, Trump concluded.
Now I kind of want to see the whole SHILLZILLA breakdown of it on video. But okay.
Here's the great thing about his video versus the article. He literally just reads his article. So, I mean, if you wanted to, how long is it? It can't be
4 minutes.
Yeah, if you want to, if you, I mean, maybe we should. We talk about Chris a lot, and we don't. Now, I haven't watched the video.
Yeah, I haven't either.
The way he usually does it is he just reads his article on video, and then he has some editor come in and put like
pictures
GIFs.
of Putin and
like GIFs on it and like dancing bananas and stuff to like really spice it up.
Okay, let's
give it a try. We'll stop it if it's not good.
As Russia massed forces along Ukraine's border and then invaded, the former U.S. president found time to praise Russian President Vladimir Putin. In an interview with conservative radio hosts Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Trump repeatedly praised Putin for his strategy
This is
on
not
Ukraine.
He's not talking about the right one.
So it's a different video.
It's a different video.
Why does CNN and all these other news agencies, why do they do this?
I don't know. I don't know why, but they do it. So, okay, he's talking about a different story there. Yeah. That's a story from like weeks ago, too, by the way.
Yeah, good job.
Let me continue. The naivete here is massive, talking about Trump and the China plane comment. And that's just the start of the...
what?
Yes, I did skip that on purpose. Does Trump really think that the Russians would be so easily fooled that painting a Chinese flag on our airplanes is a significant enough ruse to fool the Russians? What's even worse than Trump's seeming belief that his plan would work is that would happen. What?
What are you saying? Okay, wait. He needs an editor or something. Okay, go on.
I know. Let me try again.
All right.
What's even worse than Trump's seeming belief that his plan would work is what would happen if it did.
I think what he's trying to say is, hold on.
He's saying, it's a silly plan, but what would
if it
happen
works?
if it did? Yeah. Does it really behoove the U.S. to have two countries with nuclear weapons fighting one another? The instability that this would cause on the world stage is literally unfathomable. Well, maybe not literally unfathomable. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but okay. The Post reports that the Republican donor audience laughed when Trump proposed pretend we're the Chinese strategy. What's far less clear is whether Trump was actually joking. Ooh, again, the currency on which Chris SHILLZILLA has created his entire career, which is, what if Trump isn't joking? Whoa. If past is prologue, there's plenty of reason to believe it's not. Remember that this is a man who brought up trying to buy Greenland from Denmark, and when they didn't go for it, he abruptly canceled a planned visit to the country. Quote, Denmark is a very special country with incredible people, but based on Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's comments that she would have no interest in discussing the purchase of Greenland, I would be postponing our meeting scheduled in 2 weeks for another time, he tweeted at the time. Do you remember this? This is hilarious.
I do.
Out of all the things you could bring up that Trump did.
He rescheduled the meeting. Oh, no, horrible Trump.
The wanting to buy Greenland joke. Again, it was a joke.
Was it?
He said, well, you got to remember how Trump does his work. He makes a joke or he throws something out there just to see how people respond. If they respond well, he just acts on it.
Yeah, like a Nazi.
Pretends it wasn't a joke. This is also
exactly like Hitler.
Oh, listen to this. This is also a man who sided with Russian President Vladimir Putin over American intelligence services when it came to whether or not Russia actively interfered in the 2016 election.
Hey,
Chris SHILLZILLA,
there's been stuff released on this. Maybe he should pay attention.
Summoning the specter of the dead and long debunked Russiagate scandal. The Russiagate scandal is so entirely debunked. People are on trial and going to jail for their participation in the Russiagate scandal, the Steele dossier, the this, the that, the pinging of Russian servers.
We should tell him, Chris. I'm looking at you, Chris. You should do some reading, bud.
You should read a little bit.
It'll really help you.
Right. But this is CNN, and this is going to put his job at risk here because the new bosses are not going to stand.
This won't fly.
I mean, he's literally lying about, and not lying because he couldn't know the truth. It is absolutely debunked, the Russiagate scandal, and yet he continues to refer to it as if it's true. So, okay, Chris, whatever. And a man who denigrated immigrants from Central America and Africa, insisting he wanted more immigrants from countries like Norway. Okay.
Oh my gosh. What's going to happen? You know, for our sake, I hope Trump does get elected in 2024 because SHILLZILLA is going to have a breakdown, man. He's gonna lose it, and I want to see that.
In short, Trump has shown us time and time again how incredibly unorthodox he is when it comes to, well, just about everything. Unorthodox.
Okay.
Unorthodox is the choice of words Chris brings to what he's trying to say in his analysis, which is like, yeah, Trump is crazy. He makes bad decisions. He's not a good businessman or president. But he just says unorthodox. Unorthodox, that's why people love Trump. Why would you use the word that directly correlates to his most favorable quality?
Because he is orthodox, Basil. You see, SHILLZILLA is orthodox.
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's showing the mindset that orthodoxy is the most important thing over there at CNN, which means there is absolutely no reason to give him the benefit of the doubt on his most recent comments. Much like there's no reason to give Chris SHILLZILLA the benefit of the doubt on anything he says, because he cannot admit that Russiagate was a hoax. Not even a hoax. It was a
complete fabrication by the Democrat Party.
It was a conspiracy that people are going to jail for.
Yeah.
Which means the former president of the United States and the front runner to be in the 2024 Republican nominee may well really believe that the solution to Russia's invasion of Ukraine is to paint some Chinese flags on U.S. airplanes in hopes of starting a continent-wide conflict between Russia and China, which, well, wow. Okay, Chris, we get it. There's not much more to hammer on you because it's so easy. But the point is, he was talking to donors. He's talking to Republican donors in a private dinner for donors. Yes, he was joking. Yes, if he got a lot of support for that idea, he would probably float it by some generals to see if it would work. That's what Trump does. He floats a lot of ideas. Some of them work, some of them don't. He floated all sorts of stuff during COVID. That's what he does. And he's saying this to a bunch of donors who are giving him money, who give him money because of his unorthodoxy, and also painting Chinese flags on the F-22s is not there's not no precedent for
that's like the definition of a false flag if they do something like that.
Exactly. He was talking about doing a false flag on Russia, blaming it on China. Now, is it a good idea? No, because you don't want China and Russia, launching nukes at each other. But anywho, we've given enough attention to this particular analysis.
I was just going to say that SHILLZILLA seems to violate his own premise about Trump being a Russian, Putin's partner.
Yes.
By suggesting that, he's offering this
exactly.
option
I thought Trump was Putin's puppet.
Yeah.
Well, which
what happened
is
to
it?
that?
Is he a puppet or is he not? Anywho.
Yeah.
There was one other little one. This one's short, so do not fret.
Okay.
This is another Chris SHILLZILLA article came across. Is this the beginning of a Joe Biden comeback? Is it, Gonz?
Oh, SHILLZILLA reacts to the best and worst moment of State of the Union. No, that's interesting.
Yes, he does do a video on it. It's been a rough month and really year for President Joe Biden. Beset by the Omicron variant, high inflation, uncertainty in Ukraine, Biden's poll numbers have lagged badly, with his approval ratings stuck in the low 40s. Which also shows you which approval ratings SHILLZILLA is reading. He's reading the NPR PBS approval ratings, not the ones that show Joe Biden in like the mid 30s. But okay. A new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll suggests that all might be changing. Biden's overall job approval rating among Americans is set at 47% in the survey, up 8 points from where he was in the same poll last month. So even from the very poll that Chris is referring to, it put him at 39%. But okay, Chris, you're just so orthodox. It's cool. That bump is reflected in individual issues, too. A majority, 52% of Americans now approve of how Biden is handling the situation with Russia and Ukraine, up 18 points from last month. On COVID-19, 55 now approve of the way he is handling the pandemic. Yeah, 55% of people approve of dropping mandates and vaccine mandates and approve of him not going on TV and calling unvaccinated people animals who want to kill your parents or whatever. And 45% approve of his handling of the economy, a 9-point increase. Very suspicious. Some of that positive movement can be attributed to Biden's State of the Union speech earlier this week. It was generally well received, and anytime a president has the bully pulpit for an hour in prime time, it's usually a good thing for him. Him, not them, huh? What about a woman president, Chris? But there are several other threads beyond the temporary State of the Union bump that suggest a Biden comeback could be in the works. 1, his handling of the Ukraine situation. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's annoying. 2, the U.S. economy is clearly moving in the right direction. 3, COVID is in retreat. Okay, so literally the 3 things that you just gave us the stats on are the things. Good analysis. Now, it's worth noting that if the past 2 presidents, Barack Obama and Donald Trump, have taught us anything, it's that partisanship has hardened in the electorate, that trends leaves fewer independents and fence-sitters whose opinions of Biden can change based on external events. That said, Biden's numbers earlier in his term were in the mid-50s. He was at 54% approval in a Gallup polling at roughly this time last year, which means some elasticity remains in the electorate. And that's the end of the article. Now, just the thing to break down here, he talks about independence and how there's just not a lot of independents, man. Oh, the independents don't mean anything nowadays. There's less fence sitters, fewer independents, and their minds can't change, man. Everybody's so hardened in their partisanship. Remember our breakdown of the State of the Union address, where suddenly Biden was talking like a, 1999 Republican? Mm-hmm. He's taking all these right-leaning stances, wants to give more money to the cops, wants to crack down on crime, wants to, what were the other ones? Border security. Yeah. All sorts of stuff. He basically, the police. Yeah. Yes, he was talking like a maybe early 2000s Republican, not like a Democrat. And, my analysis was, they figured that the sort of progressive radical position is not healthy and not helping them. That's what's got them in this sticky place in the first place. So they're going to go to the right, and that's going to give permission for right-leaning independents to vote for Biden. He literally is banking on the independents. These poll numbers are up because of moving independents. If it wasn't for the right-leaning independents, he would not be having these numbers. And Chris SHILLZILLA says the exact opposite, as if the radical progressives are so excited about Biden now because he wants to harden our border security and fund the police. Chris SHILLZILLA is a complete joke, man. I don't get it. How does this guy still have a job?
And on that
note, he consistently just says the opposite of the truth, and he gets to make a YouTube show for CNN. Come on, Chris. Think for yourself, man. I need a drink.
Well, I on that note, I think we need to premiere our little, for those of you watching.
Oh my gosh, such a treat.
Our break video, because it's time for break.
It's break time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Good. That's right. And for those who are just listening, we have received a couple of animations that will go along with jingles as we play them through the show. So it should make the show a lot more fun, a lot more exciting for those of you who are watching the live stream. And yes, we have a very special producer Faye Liverin, of course, to thank for that. And we'll thank you even more in our second break. But
look at this screaming bird. I love it with the rainbow coming out.
They nailed it, man. Completely nailed it.
A cat flying on a burrito. This is quite the sight.
Yes, it is complete madness, complete absurdity, which is sort of fits exactly what we're going for. And very well done, too. Very well done animation for the jingle. Yeah. So thank you, Faye, and we'll thank you more later on. But for now, we're going to thank some other producers. That's right. You may notice we have no advertisements, no affiliate codes, no oh man. No, none of that. No, we're not trying to sell you any freedom phones or pills of any kind. No pills here, except somebody buys a lot of pills, Gonz.
Oh, you want me to play that clip of Biden saying it?
I'd rather you just play it than ask if I wanted
I can't.
To play
it's because I don't have it on cue. But here it is.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
There we go.
Thanks,
we
Joe.
got him. He's ordered more pills than anybody in the world, but not from us because we don't sell pills. That's right. We are. Oh my gosh! Excuse me for 1 minute. Sing a little song.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Well, there he is with the mute button. And how much singing do you want me to do?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, everybody remember who the real vamp master is around here. Jeez Louise. All right. Okay. Where was I? That's right. We're on the value for value model. It's very simple. We create value. We do it as often as we possibly can, but at least 3 times a week. And if you get any value out of what we do here on the show, you have the opportunity or the responsibility even to become a producer of the show, to put some value back in. And here's why. I understand a lot of people may bristle at the idea of, a podcaster saying it's their responsibility to support the show. And I am saying that. And honestly, it's a reality that we all have to get used to. And here's why. For years, I think anybody who's alive right now watching this, for your entire life, you've been trained to believe that value in a piece of media comes from the advertising that it receives. And that's even more so when it comes to podcasting and independent media, because it's so difficult to keep a piece of independent media alive in any sort of consistent and safe manner without taking corporate support. We continue to get offers for advertising on the show, which is hilarious because it means they don't listen to the show, but they just see our download numbers and our whatever, and they say, "Ooh, we gotta get the Canary boys trying to sell our underwear subscription."
Oh, by the way, we got a note from another one of these emails asking us to be part of like a corporate ad thing or something like that. It was it's been a while since we had one of those emails, but I'm trying to pull it up. But continue.
Okay, there you go. Well, I don't know what he's talking. Okay, right.
From Ward Rosario. Hi, I saw your channel
doxing somebody.
I don't care.
Show.
I don't care.
Well,
I saw your channel on YouTube. I think your channel is great. I'm the director of our corporate planning department. After watching your channel video, I think your channel is very good. Our platform hopes to cooperate with you. You can use the video to send us a promotional advertisement and leave us your Telegram. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That one might be that person might be trying to steal our identity. I'm not sure if that one's legit. But anyways, the fact of the matter is that advertising is not just some sort of tertiary part of society that we have to deal with because they make our cartoons good or something. Advertising, in our opinion, is truly some sort of spiritual shackles or cloud or whatever. There's all sorts of metaphors for it. Some sort of spiritual force that has convinced the world that the way to make money making an independent piece of media or any piece of media is to open up the doors of the minds of your listeners or viewers to the corporate mind control. Billions of dollars are spent on advertising research. Of course, there's big data, privacy concerns, the collection of everything, every click, every eyeball movement that you perpetrate on the internet is recorded and put into a digital sort of homunculus of you, and then they use that in order to very specifically, intentionally, and I mean it is just the definition of what advertising seeks to do, which is create that homunculus of you and use it to psychologically manipulate you for the purposes of profit and power to corporations who pay for that service from the advertising industry. And so, yeah, we do feel pretty strongly about advertising and how it's, sort of mindlessly pushed on the public, and the public, we've all accepted it our entire lives, watching TV, listening to the radio, whatever, that this is normal. It's not normal, folks. And that's why we're on the value for value model, because we do not like the idea of being incentivized to sell the attention and the trust of our listeners just for our own personal gain, to package up little packets of your data, your attention, your eyeballs, your ears, and sell it to some lizard person so that they can use it for really nefarious purposes. It's dishonest. It's wrong, and people are in love with it. There's a mind control aspect that cannot be compared to many other things, and that's why we don't do it. We don't participate. We get no corporate money whatsoever. Nothing from PayPal. Nothing from Twitch. No partnerships. No advertising. No nothing. Because we are on the value for value model, which has a couple of benefits. Number one, if we ever stop bringing value, if this show ever stops being valuable to people, we will know it. They will stop putting value into the show, and we'll know that it's time to go start working at McDonald's or something. Because at this point, it would be hard to, podcaster is not a set of skills that transfers over very well to other places. But
we could help other podcasts.
Yeah, that's what we would have to do.
Yeah, we'd have to become slave to the podcast
We'd
system.
have to go into advertising. So anyways, that's why we do it. It's honest. It's the most honest way that we can fund the podcast. And instead of letting advertisers decide the value of this content, it's the listeners who decide the value. And those listeners who come in, support the show, become producers. Because, hey, just like the real world, if you pay money to have a piece of media produced, you are a producer of that show. You can put it on your resume, put it on your LinkedIn, do whatever you want. It's a real deal. And that's why we thank them right here on the producer segment. Gonz, there's a couple ways to produce the show. You can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT, or even better, you can go to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
Who are we thanking today, Gonz?
Well, we got a couple executive producers who came in, answered the call.
That's right.
We're going to start with...
Love it. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Just double checking something. Yeah, okay, continue. Yes, thank you very much, executive producers. if you just came in on the show.
I love how you told me to continue and then you continued.
I know. I'm
awesome.
on I'm steamrolling here.
Sure.
I apologize.
No, go for it.
But I do want to thank these executive producers, because that's how the show works, folks. We're a family. We work together. The producers are a family. It takes whatever it takes to keep the show going. And when there's a need or a lapse, especially in these uncertain times where people may not be, the value for value contributions are the first thing to go out the window when times get tough, and we understand that. We're not complaining about that.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit of the value for value model is if times get tough, there's somebody out there, there's some producer out there who's ready to help carry the load, shoulder the load. And that's why it means so much to have these two executive producers come in during the show.
Okay, we're going to start having a executive producer intro, which goes something like this.
Executive producers.
Ooh. Hello, party people. Welcome to the executive producer party.
And the first executive producer is Anonymous.
Woo! Thank you very much, Anonymous. Executive producer, Anonymous.
Yeah, busy hacking Russia or something.
Anonymous. We got a jingle for Anonymous?
Yes, we do.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you very much. Executive producer Anonymous coming in with $113.96. I believe that's $111.11 plus fees. And a note here. Thanks for being a light in my life. I have so much fun listening to you. God bless. Thank you very much, Anonymous. It means a lot. And God bless you.
Appreciate that. And our other executive producer for episode 455, Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, coming through.
There she is, Dame Lynn, coming in with $111.30. Yes.
Where'd you find this?
Yeah, that was 107.77. Ooh, she got some sevens in there.
Interesting.
Thank you very much, Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes. And those, if you're new to the show, we call her Dame Lynn because she is a dame of the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And we'll talk more about that later because we got fun stuff. Thank you very much, Dame Lynn. So faithful coming in when we have an emergency like this. And thank you to both of our executive producers.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay, we don't have any supply droppers today. To thank, or new supply droppers to thank. So we will continue on and thank other producers, starting off with Doty the Coyote.
Doty the Coyote is back. Hey. Thank you very much, Doty. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Doty the Coyote comes in with $31. And had a note, not going to read the note, but we will call on the producers for Doty.
Producers, assemble!
Thank you very much, Doty the Coyote. And yes, producers all around the world, put it on the list. We're praying for Doty the Coyote, just for strength. No details, but of course, keep Doty in your prayers. Thank you very much, Doty.
Thank you, Doty the Coyote. Next up, we have Hillary M.
Hillary M comes in with $23.33.
Ooh, is that Illuminati status?
Sure, yeah.
Illuminatus!
A lot of threes.
And a note here: Shalom Alechem. May Yeshua's peace be with us all. Thank you very much, Hillary.
Thank you, Hillary M. Next up, we have Greg and Gaynor.
Yes, Greg and Gaynor, thank you very much. They joined the Patreon, coming in with a monthly producership. Thank you very much, Greg and Gaynor.
Thank you, Greg and Gaynor. Next up, we have Puddin22.
Puddin22, that's right, our premier feline producer here, coming in with $11.75 and a note: Happy Monday, Basil and Gonz.
Gary, what day is it?
Monday. And let's see here. Puddin22 says, Happy Monday, Basil and Gonz. Exciting days to be alive as prophecy unfolds before our eyes. Blessings to you both. Meow, meow, meow. Puddin22. Thank you very much. This cat is a fan of biblical prophecy. That's always fun.
Yeah, I like it. This cat is growing on me. Next up, we have Morv.
Thank you very much, producer Morv. And Morv is on a 61 episode streak. Thank you very much, Morv. Morv came in with, let's see, $11.11. Appreciate it. Ooh, exciting.
Yep, thank you very much, Morv. Next up, we have Jonathan F.
Jonathan F is in the house, producing in so many ways. Thank you, Jonathan F. Comes in with $10.66 plus fees. I think if you go through the LINKTREE donation button, I think the fees are different. Because this $10.66 number has been coming in a lot, and I'm trying to figure out why. So somebody let me know what this is. If you're not meaning to come in with 1066, let me know what you are meaning to come into, because there's something abnormal about the math with that. Quote. Here's a note from Jonathan F. Nope. I don't think I asked for demooching yet. Love you guys, and I hope this show lasts forever. Please do a corn pop Biden whisper fest. The gaffes are rubbing off on Basil. Love you guys. God bless. Okay, well, let's start with the demooching.
And his request comes because it's he's the one that submitted a couple of these ISOs, which we will thank him in the next segment as well. But for this segment, Biden Whisper Fest with Corn Pop, huh?
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
I wrote the bill. Pay them more. They all want to shoot their dad. Get vaccinated.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
Getting's on the way.
Man, there's so many.
Love it. And we're only 1 year into his presidency.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have a huge collection.
It's going to be great.
Of more.
But Jonathan F's got the right idea. You know, if there's a jingle you want to hear, just make it and send it in. That's the easiest way.
Easiest way.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan F. Next up, we have the Green Mountaineer.
There's the Green Mountaineer again, coming in with that 1066 plus fees. The Green Mountaineer embraces all of Canary Cry. Galatians 5:22.
Thank you very much, the Green Mountaineer. Next up, we have LX Protocol V2.
That's right. An LX Protocol V2 producer bot is on a 3-episode streak, which means LX Protocol V2 is heating up, baby.
He's heating up.
And came in with 7s and fees.
Thank you very much. Do I give LX Protocol V2 a male streak or a female streak?
Oh, do we have a robot streak?
I was going to say we're going to have to
it's a male.
expand into
it's a male robot as far as I know.
Animals and
We're so gendered on this show.
We got to stay woke, you know. All right, thank you very much. The protocol.
Yes.
Next up, Jason P.
Oh, he gets no jingle. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, here we go.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. LX Protocol V2. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Next up, we have Jason P.
Jason P is on a 3-episode streak. Means Jason P is heating up, baby.
He's heating up.
11:11. You're the man, Jason.
Yeah. Good stuff, Jason P. Thank you. Next up, we have Palmer B.
Palmer B is on a 30-episode streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule.
So close, Palmer B. Palmer B comes in with the 1001.
1001. Amen.
Happy Monday, my dudes. I have a question. What do your parents think of your podcasting and such? Do you bring honor to your family? Much love, Palmer B. Good question, Gonz. Would you like to take this? Mine are thrilled. Yes. I actually kept it a secret from my parents for many years. I don't exactly remember when I told them, but it was many years into the podcast.
Yeah.
Not because I was maybe keeping it a secret. It's just, it just wasn't. It was, we were just podcast. It was just like a hobby for a very long time.
Yeah.
But when it really got going, I did let them know, and they were very excited. Still very excited. Mommy and Daddy Basil listen to the show most of the time, I'd say. Not every episode, but they listen often, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can't really say the same for my end, but, little different situation.
They don't listen, or they're not thrilled?
They definitely don't listen. I think they're only thrilled in that I am doing something in life.
that you are making a paycheck.
That I'm making, and I'm having the ability to provide for family. And
should we start forwarding all of the fan mail to your parents so they know?
They kind of know. The office is filled with the producer art and all kinds of stuff. So they know, but they're I don't know, content wise. Like, I remember I showed them Age of Deceit, and my dad was like, "Oh, you just don't understand it." Right. They don't get it, So it's
there's a lot of disconnects there.
There's multiple levels.
There's the cultural disconnect, not because they're Japanese, but just because there's more trust and authority there. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Christian thing.
There's a Christian thing, which is not too
then
familiar with
age.
There's age, there's language, there's culture, there's every
language.
barrier that you can imagine.
Every barrier that could be up.
Is
this show puts up enough barriers already for people to understand what's going on.
All right.
Okay. Well, there you go. Great question. Thank you, Palmer B.
Thank you, Palmer B. All right, moving on. Next up, we have JC.
JC is on a 76 episode streak.
Ooh, he's one away from perfection.
And it comes in with the 1001.
1001. Amen.
Note says, Gary, what day is it?
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Thank you very much, JC. The note continues. My guess on the identity of the anonymous voicemail last episode was Liam Neeson. Yes, absolutely. Literally the second we ended the show, JC, I thought the exact same thing. I went back and listened again, and it obviously was Liam Neeson.
Oh, really?
I cannot believe that I did not catch that. He has been known to carry many different accents, which would explain the confusing mix of tones in his voice. What is your favorite EDC items? What is EDC items?
I have no clue.
Electric Daisy Carnival?
Maybe.
Music Festival? What is EDC?
Oh, I'm going to look it up. EDC,
Okay,
the interweb machine. Go
yeah.
blub, blub.
Did we not? We knighted JC, did we not?
I thought so.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
Maybe
this is the first episode. Sorry, this is an administrative error, is what this is, because we have not updated his. Let's see. We did Sir James.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Child of God. So maybe we haven't done.
No,
JC.
I'm pretty sure we did JC.
Here,
or if we haven't, here it is. Sir JC, Knight of the Techno Squatch.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yes, I can't believe it took us this many episodes to get it in there. Okay, I am updating.
Everyday Carry. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it looks like in the chat. Everyday Carry. Yeah.
Well, since the YouTube stream is still going, we'll have to save that question for another time. That is not a YouTube safe conversation. But thank you for the question.
Yeah.
We can talk about that later. Sir JC, Knight of the Techno Squatch. Thank you for reminding us, chat. Okay. Yes, there you go. All right. He might be talking about like your normal things, like your keys and your chapstick.
Maybe.
And that's how I'm going to answer the question.
Okay.
I always got my Burt's Bees, baby. Got my Burt's Bees. Got my keys. I got my wallet attached to my phone because I cannot handle having those two things separately. What else? That's pretty much it. It's mostly the chapstick.
You don't have like a shotgun in the back of the car?
I have a cool pen. I'll show you this pen. I've got a brass machine milled pen.
Oh, I thought it was like a 007, press the button. Launches a motorcycle.
Guns. I don't know if I can get close enough on the video with this.
We can see it, yeah.
So this is my pen I carry everywhere. It's really heavy. Yeah, it's not a pound, but it's really heavy. You have to screw off the top. It's very extremely like machine milled. It's got metal threads on either side. You could definitely take somebody's eye out with this thing. And it writes wonderful, and it gives sort of like an extra sense of power when you pull it out to write on something. Actually, I have transferred over to a fanny pack, to a daily fanny pack. Now that you got me going on it, I carry an EpiPen everywhere because someday you never know when somebody's going to need one. What else I got? I got all sorts of stuff in there. Oh man, now you're making me need to take stock. But the fanny pack has changed everything. What about you, Gonz?
Keys, kids. That's about it.
Cool.
Cars.
You got to carry those cars, your little Hot Wheels. Maybe I should put a Hot Wheel in my
I had considered, and I used to carry around a knife, but after having a couple kids, I have it kind of stashed away.
Opnell. I carry an Opnell number 9. Great knife.
Yeah, I got to talk to the wife about that one. She's the one that supplied the knife. So
Okay.
Yeah, don't mess with the wife when it comes to.
Well, if I think of anything else, I'll let you know. But so far, it's the pen, the chapstick, the knife, and the EpiPen.
Good.
I want to carry around some Narcan.
Yeah.
It's like the EpiPen for drug overdoses.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where you're walking around that you're gonna just need to bust it out, but
I don't know where I'm gonna need it. Look, I don't have a prescription for EpiPen. You don't know what I had to do to get this EpiPen.
Well,
I don't even know if you need it. You got to take a class to get a Narcan.
Yeah, you just talk to Cuomo. He'll hook you up.
Cuomo will hook it up. All right, let's keep moving.
All right. Next up, we have Sir Scott, Knight of Truth.
Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, is on a 116 episode streak.
Tweakers. Oh, yeah. Man, thank you so much.
Coming in with the pocket full of 7 says, Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you very much, Sir Scott.
Thank you, Sir Scott. And then right before the cutoff here, last one, Gail M.
Gail M. coming in on a 91 episode streak. Wait.
92.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's 92. I was on the wrong document. 92 episode streak. Thank you, Gail M. Pocket full of 7s. And a note. Hey, Dolce dudes. Last week's winner. Oh, it's the Gail's grab bag announcement. Okay, wonderful. Last week's winner is Mom with a Sword and Shield in the chat for keeping up with producer requests. The first time I asked for prayer, she contacted me and asked what exactly my prayer request was, which immediately comforted me. Thank you. Thank you. They put a name here. I don't know if we're here to dox this person, but thank you, Mom with Sword and Shield. XXXX, XXXX. That's wonderful. Thank you, cool. Gail M. For those who don't know, there's the Gail's Gratitude Grab Bag where she's giving away all sorts of cool Canary themed items that she's been collecting from thrift stores and all sorts of cool places. And she's giving just fun stuff away. I mean, what a wonderful little treat to win a prize just for participating in the community. And thank you, Mom with a Sword and Shield, for being such a faithful producer. Gonz, before we move on, there is I think one. We have another producer who came in. I would like to put. I don't want to put this person on blast, but I'm generally saying, because this person is not the only one, there's been maybe a half a dozen. And today we did make a special request. So this is not anything to do with people today. In general, it makes our lives so much easier if producership comes in before the show, because there's a lot of back office administration that happens when things come in, and that's when mistakes start getting made. But today is a very special circumstance where we needed more producers, and we appreciate it very much. And we especially appreciate producer Joel S.
Thank you, Joel S.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, Joel S. is in this next group of producers, the Pocket Full of 7s cutoff. That concludes our producers who come in the amount of $7.77 or more. And, Joel S. This is Poco Jojo. Okay. I got to change the document there. Thank you, Poco Jojo. But if you come in with 777 or more, you have a note. You're entitled to have a note read on the show. But we've got some producers who come under that amount, and we want to thank them now, starting with producer Poco Jojo, who is on a streak of some kind. I'm going to call it two episodes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, Poco Jojo. Next up, we've got Sir Jason. Wait, what? What is this? What happened here?
This is a knight.
That is the wrong knight name. This is Sir James.
Oh, Sir James. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I got to scroll down and get his knight name. Yeah, Sir James, knight and servant of the Lion of Judah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who is also on a streak, a 61 episode streak. Thank you very much,
Thank
Sir
you.
James. Next up, we've got Caitlin C.
Thank you, Caitlin C.
Then we've got producer Jackie U, who is on a 33 episode streak.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
she's on a streak.
Women rule!
And
Which
that means that
means-
Jackie U has reached the esteemed level of
Illuminati Master
Illuminati Lizard Master Shell.
Officially solidified Illuminated Lizard Master Shell.
The most exciting streak. It's the most exciting streak. Thank you very much, Jackie, for everything you do for us.
Thank you, Jackie.
Next up, we've got Sir Casey the Shield Knight on a 126 episode streak.
Thank you, Sir Casey.
That's right. Next up, we've got Runk Smash on a 5 episode streak.
Thank you, Runk Smash.
Then we've got Socks. Socks. Thank you very much, Socks.
Socks.
Yes, and we don't read notes for this level, but we do have. I'm going to read this one. I think after my last sweet numbered donation, I hit my knighthood. I've been on both Patreons since 2018. I'd like to be known as Sir Socks, Knight of Argyle. Okay, we will. We've saved a seat for you, Sir Socks, or Socks, soon to be known as Sir Socks. We'll knight you in just a second.
Yep.
Very exciting.
Very cool.
Next up, we've got Veronica D on a 92 episode streak.
Ooh.
Streak.
Women rule!
Thank you, Veronica D.
Now we've got, last but not least, we've got Doctor Who Dundat on a 62 episode streak.
Thank you, Doctor Who Done That.
There we go. And that concludes our list of financial producers who are committing to setting the value for this show and not letting the corporate lizard overlords do it for them. We appreciate it very much. We couldn't do the show without you. And thank you for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
You're right over there.
Yeah,
grunting through jingles.
My, you know this. My mic stand is broken, so I have to hold it the whole show. My hand is literally cramping. I let go for a second, and it swung and hit me in the face. But we do have an exciting thing to do now, Gonz, which is to induct a couple knights, or a knight and a dame, into the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And if you're new to the show or you haven't heard, the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames is an elite squad of producers who are faithful and committed to keeping the show going, who have in total supported the show in the amount of $1,000 or more. This can happen over many years or all at once, depending on their situation and the value they get from the show. And so we have the honor of introducing Socks and Leslie W. into the Roundtable of Knights and Dames. So we got to get out our honorary weapons here.
Okay.
Let's see.
What you got?
Where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. I forgot I left it at your house. Thank you. Hand it over here. Okay, we want to call up Leslie W. and Socks. Please step forward to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where we have a seat for you thanks to your generous support in the amount of $1,000 or more. We are proud to pronounce you Dame Midge, Short Grammy of the Cracker, and Sir Socks, Knight of Argyle. Please join us at the Canary Cry Roundtable, where we have the belt of truthful truthiness, the breastplate of righteous righteousness, custom fit Birkenstocks to carry forth the gospel of peace, the shield of ferocious faith, the helmet of substantiating salvation, the supernatural sword of the spirit, and of course, samurai babies, infinitely cute kitties for cuddling. And if you're hungry, we have fancy feast, wet food, carved Cosmo the CRISPR cow, and fried wormicorns. Welcome to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And the crowd goes wild to introduce for the first time Dame Midge, Short Grammy of the Cracker, and Sir Socks, Knight of Argyle. Thank you very much. And the rest of the Canarium agrees that we are honored to have you here and so thankful for your producership. And Gonz is just clanking some mufflers together.
Love it. Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Okay,
Thank you.
there we go. We already did. Thank you for your patronage, right?
We did.
All right, let's check in on some voicemails.
Let's do it. Speak pipe.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message.
Beep.
Message.
Ooh,
all right. If you go to CanaryCryNewsTalk.com, on the right-hand side of the page is a green tab. Click on that tab, and you can leave us a message, a voice message of 90 seconds or less. You can do whatever you want with it. Leave a message, shout out to a listener, thank a producer, congratulate a knight or a dame, even leave your own Canary Cry report that we can play on the show. Or you can weigh in on perhaps some sort of discussion that's happening around here. Gonz, do we have any of those?
Yeah, we have it looks like we got a couple of messages that came in. This first one is from Sam Elliott.
Oh.
Sam Elliott's been in the news recently.
Yes, he apparently was not aware of what the film Power of the Dog was about.
Yeah. He was shocked at.
He was caught by surprise and sort of talked about how there were. What did he say? There were undertones, or themes of homosexuality.
Yeah.
When in reality, it was explicitly what the movie was about from the beginning. But apparently, nobody told him that before he watch the movie, which I could see that being a surprise if you're not expecting it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what Sam Elliott has to say to us.
This is Sam Elliott.
Oh.
I like the new Wednesday jingle.
Oh.
In the West, you don't adapt, you don't survive.
Hey, that's a good point for the new Wednesday jingle.
Is that the end?
That's it,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you didn't sign off or anything.
No, it's straight up.
Yeah, if you say, take it from Sam Elliott. In the West, if you don't adapt, you don't survive.
You don't survive.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I hadn't thought about that, Sam. Thanks for the call, and loved you in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, that's right. He was in The Big Lebowski.
That was kind of like where our generation mostly knows about Sam Elliott.
Right, you're right. Okay. We had another one from Shiloh.
Okay.
I don't know any context. I'll just.
I have not listened to it.
I have not either. So
hopefully, it's not going to get us in trouble, Shiloh.
Okay, here we go, Shiloh.
Hey, Shiloh here. My opinion. What if on YouTube you did 30 minutes of the show only about the information you pull, you dig up, all the resources you provide? I get it. It's great stuff. Because I think when you get to the value for value system and you explain that, and then you thank the producers and all that stuff on YouTube, I think new people and even people that have been listening for years shut that off and go somewhere else or whatever they do. And I think you lose a lot of people there. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. What if you did 30 minutes of that, just the information, explain the value for value system at the end of that, and then maybe say, watch the rest of the show on DLive, Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey. Because I had a friend I turned the show on to. He watched that first half of the show. When he got to that value for value system and thank you producers, he's like, I can't go through that. That's too long. I can't do it. We get it. Been listening for years. Most of us do. But I'm wondering if maybe that would help, my opinion. I don't know.
All right. Thanks, Shiloh.
So his suggestion was to do what we're doing, just not put the producer segment on YouTube?
I think so. Like go like a half hour give YouTube only a half hour, which
there's a couple reasons why we do that. I mean, we already do the first segment on YouTube, which goes about an hour, so usually more actually.
Yeah.
And then we do the first producer segment still on YouTube. Because I mean, I don't really see a problem with what you're talking about. I don't think the problem you're referring to can be solved by just not doing the producer segment on YouTube, because we'd have to cut off the show anyways. And so,
I think the solution is to take the Canary Cry Clips YouTube channel and just give your friend.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, give your friend whatever topics, and that way they don't have to sit through any of the producer stuff. They
that's the solution. So number one, they're going to leave anyways. I mean, if we cut off the stream, then they're gone anyways, and then they would just go to the next thing, maybe to catch the rest of the show, and just jump right into the producer segment. So I'm not sure if that solves that. But also, it's, that's kind of the thing about the model and the show, which is, not everybody can handle it. And plenty of people skip the producer segments, but they're skipping the producer segment because they're not producers. And, we're not going to not thank the producers, because people who aren't producers don't want to thank producers.
Well, and I think people don't realize that even though we're thanking the producers, there's still content. When there's notes, when there's questions.
That's also a thing.
It's not just
that's getting more into the community aspect of the show,
right?
When you feel yourself becoming a part of the community, that's when you kind of start listening to the producer segments. And a lot of people just don't want it. They don't care about the community aspect. Which is fine. They don't have to. The content is good. But I think the solution that you're talking about, Gonz, is the right one, which is, if you got somebody you're just trying to get into the content, just send them clips from the Clips channel. That's what the Clips channel is for. They can just watch clip after clip after clip, and there's no producers, and there you go. Also, the reason we leave the producers on YouTube is many producers, watch mainly on YouTube. And, this is a true independent media, but still a media property who is produced by the producers. And just like any other show ever, you thank your team after the show is over. And so that's why we do it. But yes, I understand it can be frustrating, and new people do get turned off by it. And that's fine. They don't have to listen to it. So start by giving them the clips. That's what it's there for, Canary Cry Clips. Oh, I did just lock down our URL. So it's youtube.com/CanaryCry.Clips.
Oh, there you go.
And I just published like a whole bunch of videos today. 12, 15 videos got published today. Go check it out. All sorts of good stuff there.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Shiloh, for your message.
Yep, thank you very much. And this is when we actually say goodbye to YouTube. Right?
Yeah, so on that note... Goodbye, YouTube.
And we got a couple jingles for that, too. We had two, actually. So we'll play them both, and then, see you later, YouTube.
YouTube. Now you see me. Now you don't.
YouTube. See you later. Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
You need to go to Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. You can find all those links at CanaryCry.Party as well.
Too hot for YouTube.
Bye.
A lot going on there, man.
There's a lot there.